the GPS on the new Honda Goldwing causing you problems? Let's fix it. This is riding with Rick. It takes a lot more to stop this motorcycle than what you're on.
Pulling right next to my poppy.
You survived Fort Edward John?
Yeah, I
And
did.
before you turn left here, make sure the cars are coming. Oh! Fuck.
Just like that.
Just like that, yeah. Hi folks, welcome to the Riding with Rick channel. I'm Rick, and I wanted to put together a video or a series of videos kind of getting the most out of your Honda Goldwing GPS. I think the general consensus through forums and other YouTube videos is that the GPS on the new Honda Goldwing sucks. I think that is a strong opinion. Personally, I really like the new GPS. Honda is making incremental improvements. I take it for what it is, let's put it that way. And this series of videos is just a set of tutorials to show you how I get the most out of the GPS and come to a realization that it's there are many things on my personal wish list that I wish the GPS had, but I'm not comparing it to a automotive GPS or the Zumo GPS. I'm taking it for what it is, and the big difference is that I rarely, if ever, ride the motorcycle without a loaded route. And that is the difference. If you're using the GPS just to plug in an address and say, take me to this destination, you can do that. But I find that the GPS becomes a very robust tool if you take the time to load out routes. And at least for me, I've gotten better at my routing. I use a specific tool, Rever, that is really configured for the Honda Goldwing and its GPS, and I have had some problems while out on the road, but usually I would say in all cases it's been poor route planning on my part, misplacement of waypoints, maybe being too hastily in my planning stages. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to plan a trip that I'm going to take in the future, and it will be broken down into 3 separate routes or legs, if you want to call them, in and around a place called Raystown Lake, Pennsylvania. Part of that routing will be some complex routing, and some of it not so complex. But I hope that you get the basics. In future videos, I'll show you the settings that I have on my bike, and some of the little tiny nuances, etc. Tracking is another great tool. So anyway, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn this camera around and we're going to go to my computer and I'm going to show you my planning stages. And please subscribe to the channel and click the like button if you like what you see. And okay, let's get to it. All right, now we're looking at my computer screen here, and I hope you can actually see it okay. What I want to do is plan out a route to a place called Raystown Lake in Pennsylvania. I know a little bit about this lake just simply because I've spent time in there in the past. This trip will be a day trip. It'll be a long day trip, but knowing that it's about 3.5 hour ride one way by car, just to get to the lake, and obviously add another 3.5 hours home. So already we've eaten most of the day up. We may break this up into an overnight stay, but for the purpose of this tutorial is to really show how to do the most complex type of routing which I consider the loop. In other words, take me from my starting point and tour around and end me at where I started. It requires to either one, route dragging, or 2, breaking the route up into different legs or segments. So here we look at, this is Google Maps, and I'm looking at Raystown Lake. It's a very long lake. It's a man-made, Army Corps of Engineers made this lake. And there's really, what I want to do is when I get there, I want to ride around the lake. But if we kind of zoom in here and take a look at access to the lake, there's really not a lot that you can get close to it at all points of riding around. I can get down to a marina, this general area here. I don't know if you can see that. So I'm going to kind of concentrate on that being one of my stops. Let's just plan this route out. So I'm going to start up a new route here. I have the option to either enter an address, or I can simply click on the map as a starting point. Based on my research on Google Maps, I want to start out in a place called 1,000 Steps section of the Standing Stone. I've never been there, but I'm going to plunk up a waypoint right down on Route 22. That'll be one of my starting points, and I'll do it right here. So there's my start. Now, as I said before, a loop, or a leg that takes you in a big beginning and ending circle, is probably the most difficult routing. You can do it a number of ways. You can actually put an end and start point in there and drag or bend your route to where you want it to go. But I find an easier way to do it, or a more maybe accurate way, is to just simply put a point on a road. So there, if I go ahead and pull this here, examine this road here, there's nothing special there as far as where I'm going to go. I really can't go too much, but I'm going to put a waypoint right after I enter this road, probably right about here. And that'll be my first waypoint. I can get pretty close to the lake if I want to, but it looks like to me that there are some, the more I zoom in, there are some roads that run me down to the lake, but I would have to come back out of those roads. So I'm gonna, really what I want to do is to go view an overlook. I'm going to remove point 1, and I'm going to bend this route down into this. So I'm going to put a point right here, and I'm going to drag it down and see what it does. Okay, so if you look at the route, I'm not so sure that that's really going to work out for me. However, if I put another waypoint here, what that will have me doing is coming up. Now you notice that the road, the black line here, is darker than this black line. It means I'm repeating. I'm going in one direction and I'm coming back in another direction. So being that the waypoint is down here, which is actually an overlook, there's no other way down into that location, but I would come back out of there after visiting the overlook and pick up waypoint number 2, and then continue on my path. So I'm going to continue putting down some waypoints here and stretching my final line out. So once I pick up number 2, I want to be sure that I pick up Route 24. So I'm going to stick a third waypoint right here. So that looks, so now I've gone and visited this little overlook, and I know that this stretch of road, Route 24, is pretty spectacular, even though it's kind of straight. It doesn't really do too much for me. However, there's real no way down to the lake other than this area right here is a marina, and I want to be sure that I get down in here and park. It's 7 Points Road, and there's plenty of parking down in here. But as long as I have a waypoint in this general area, I can double back out of dipping down and to view the lake. So let's. I'm going to keep my main route up here on 24, and I'm just going to put a waypoint here, and I'm going to bend it down into somewhere in that vicinity that I was. And I can be a little bit more precise. In fact, I can probably get it down real close to where the water is. Okay. So if you look at this route here, where the you see gray here, and then it's dark. That means I'm just doubling back on my route to get back to where I came from. And just generally speaking, I mean, it's I can put a waypoint right here to ensure that I pick it up on my way back and get on my merry way. And let's just check and see if, yep, they all render. Okay. So now I have 2 locations that I've seen, and I'm going to continue pushing this route. Now, Route 994, instead of going to the southern end of the lake, this kind of cuts the lake generally in half. You're not going to get too close down the lake down here, but this is where Raystown Lake Resort is, and already, as you can probably see, I'm at 43 miles and an hour and 28 minutes to do what I want to do in and around Raystown Lake. So we're getting beyond the limit, because remember, if I'm going to do it all in a day, I still got to get home. All right, so I'm going to stretch this route a little bit to 924, and I'm going to put a waypoint right after my turn, right there, and ensure that renders. Okay, we're starting to look like a loop. Now, will I be able to really exactly complete a loop? Possibly, if I, like I said, if this road right here would make its way back towards where I came, but it looks like it ends. So in and around the lake, you got to be kind of careful of where you're intending to go. Okay, so to get back to my starting point, really to like kind of create a loop, it's just I just simply drag the my finish very close to my start here, and I'm going to let the route planner, the software, do what it's going to do. Now, I need to go in here and actually, if I'm satisfied with this route back, I can start putting in some waypoints to ensure that I stay on this track. And then it picks up 829, so I'm going to put a route or a waypoint right here on this main road. And I don't want to really be too lazy about this, because you can kind of get lost in this neck of the woods, but it looks like this section right here is a little, looks like we're going through a little town, and then we take several turns here to get back to our starting point in the Mapleton. So I think probably best is to put a waypoint at least right here. and make sure that rendered. It does. Okay. And yeah, that looks a little sketchy there, to be honest with you. Well, first of all, my finish waypoint is really not. That's probably better. But it's in and around the town of Mapleton. Now, if we look at that, that is probably a good general loop around the lake. Okay, so from there, at least in Rever, I can name my trip. Oh, it's not bad. It's only around this little loop here. It's 72 miles, and it'll take about 2 hours to complete. So, you know, by the time that you hit my two little lakeside waypoints, number 1 and number 4, you know, it's 3 hours. So a very good long day of riding, for sure, taking into account that there's a, you know, I need to get there and I need to get back home. Okay, so that is pretty much one way to complete a loop. And I guess in the next video, I'll go back over how to upload this into my bike. But for right now, I'm just going to name it and Raystown Lake Loop. In and around Raystown Lake. And I won't set a ride date, but this Rever gives you some options, you know, road surface, ride date, that type of thing. But I said this really in a Rever tutorial, and maybe later. Okay, so we'll pick back up on this this entire trip and its entirety, and the next planning phase will be how to get to that starting point and then pick up from that final ending point from home back to home. Okay. Just wanted to conclude this video by saying thank you for watching. I hope you felt that it was informative and you got something out of it. Please look for some future videos surrounding this whole topic of getting the most out of your GPS. And please subscribe, leave a comment. I'll comment on your comment, and click the like button. Again, thank you for watching.